Welcome to the Lose Weight, Live Life podcast. If you're a female professional or entrepreneur who would do anything to lose weight, yet finds it impossible to stick to a diet, to eat less, or just what you think you should, this podcast is for you. I am your host, certified life and weight coach, Claire McKenzie. Listen in to learn how to stop overeating, lose weight for the last time, and create a relationship with food and yourself that you love, all without diet deprivation and self-sabotage. Hello everyone, and a very warm welcome to episode number 6. How are you doing? I'm doing pretty good. I'm recording this episode 10 days before it's released, which means that my children, I've got 2 teenagers, I've got a son who's 17 and a daughter who's 14, will be back at school by the time you listen to this. I'm quite excited at the prospect of them being able to get on with their own lives. It feels as though everything has been on hold for them for so long, and I'm looking forward to getting on with some new and exciting things that are happening in my business too. So I've cryptically called this episode Better Than Normal. And just now, as I'm thinking about this, I'm realising how primed we all are right now to allow some new normal into our lives. This time last year, we would never have believed it was normal to wear a mask when shopping, to have to walk around shopping centres and supermarkets following specific routes, to have to queue outside a shop if 2 people were already inside, or to be able to go out to dinner anywhere and get 50% off your bill on a Monday, Tuesday or Wednesday. Think about how easily we've adapted to all of these ways of being as I talk to you about Better Than Normal on today's podcast, and it's going to be a thought-provoking one. In fact, I would love to know your thoughts about this episode after you've listened to it, because I'm giving you a few hard truths, a little bit of very caring, tough love. So do let me know what you think. But one more thing before I begin, I want to let you know that you still have time to enter the podcast launch competition. I'm giving away 3 coaching gift certificates worth a total of £500. Go to www.thebestyou.coach/podcast launch for all the details of how to leave a review and enter the competition. So let me set the scene a little for this Better Than Normal podcast episode. Have you ever wished you could just eat like a normal person? That you could treat food the same way that a normal person does? My clients tell me all the time that they just want to eat like a normal person, and I'm putting that in air quotes. And I think I may have thought that more than once myself too. Sometimes my clients tell me this on our first call, as if it's one of their goals. And when I ask them to explain what they mean by that, they tell me that they want to be able to treat themselves when they want to, and that they want to be able to have that treat food, again in air quotes, without feeling bad and without overeating. Other times, my clients tell me they just want to eat like a normal person partway through working together. Typically, this might be when they're thinking how they're eating or wanting to eat is getting difficult. Or maybe the pounds aren't melting away as quickly as they would like, and they're getting a little bit impatient. And in these cases, I can sometimes understandably detect an essence of entitlement, or maybe self-pity, or occasionally despair. My clients are thinking that their brain is telling them that it's normal for people to be able to eat whatever they want, that it's normal for people to not have to think about what they're going to be eating, and that it's normal to be able to eat sugar and flour, all the refined foods, and then not over-desire them or crave them when they do. And what I want to say to them, and what I'm sharing with you now, is that their brain is wrong about that, and I'm going to explain why in just a moment. But let's just look at where thinking about normal eating fits within the framework that I teach. So if you missed it on the earlier podcasts, there are 5 core areas that I focus on in my coaching programs, and they are learning how to eat right for you, becoming boss of your brain, managing your mind, enabling your emotions, and loving yourself like your life depends on it. And today I'm using the topic of normal eating as an example of how managing your mind can help you lose weight. Now, when I talk about managing your mind, I'm talking about managing the thoughts, those sentences in your mind that you think and believe. And the reason that this is important is because your thoughts about food, eating, and your relationship with food and eating are contributing, actually more than that, they're causing you to be the weight that you are. Let me say that again. Your thoughts about food, eating, and your relationship with food are at least contributing to, if not causing you to be, the weight that you are. So get ready, because we're going to have some fun with this episode today. We're going to talk about the power of thought and how it impacts what we do. we're going to talk about the problem with normal eating and thought errors. So what does it mean to eat like a normal person? Take a moment now and just visualize or form a description of what you think eating like a normal person means to you. All of you listening will have a different visualization or description because what's normal depends on many things: the circles of people that you mix with, your upbringing, and all your past experiences. According to Google, the definition of normal is conforming to a standard that is usual, typical, or expected. And so, of course, we all have different normals because we all have differences in what's usual and typical, and also in what's expected of us. And so normal changes with time, with geographic location, with the tribe with which we associate ourselves. And so, for example, what might be normal with friends could directly oppose what might be normal when you're with your family. So let's take this back to what's normal in the context of what, when, and why we are eating. When people tell me they want to eat like a normal person, they often mean that they want to eat dessert like their slim friends when they go out to dinner, or be able to stop at the one glass of wine, or just have one biscuit and leave the rest of the pack. They don't mean that they want to eat only healthy and nutritious food that fuels their body. Most people eat very little healthy and nutritious food. Most people are overweight. Most people eat to feel better instead of working out what they really want. So when my clients tell me they want to eat like a normal person, they are mistakenly thinking that this will enable them to be slim. They are effectively having a thought error. Their brain is telling them that they are abnormal because they find it difficult to stop overeating and that they find it impossible to lose weight. But the opposite is true. It's very normal. It's more normal to be overweight than to be a healthy weight. And statistics tell us that 90-80% of people who lose weight through dieting regain it again. So if you can relate, don't make the mistake of thinking that you just want to be normal or eat like a normal person. If you desire more food than you need, you are already normal. This is what we humans do. So how is it that we've got to the point where it's normal to overeat and be overweight? And before I answer that question, let's just go off on another little tangent. Do you remember when it was normal to smoke everywhere? Do you remember being in coffee shops dense with smoke, or even being on an aeroplane with people smoking? That used to be normal. And yet now, if you were to smoke on an aeroplane, you would be arrested. What's normal changes all the time. What if the way in which it's normal to eat sugar-laden drinks, 3 large meals and 3 snacks a day, the way in which it's normal to have an alcoholic drink to wind down in the evening, even normal to have a couple of biscuits with our tea or coffee, is as problematic as smoking? And here's why it possibly could be. Did you know that obesity is the second biggest preventable cause of cancer in the UK? More than 1 in 20 cancer diagnoses are caused by excess weight. Also, did you know that 3.42 million people in the UK are living with type 2 diabetes? That is 10% of people in the UK over the age of 40 are diabetic. And tragically, more than 500 people in the UK die prematurely because of diabetes every week. I don't share these statistics to scare you. I share these statistics because I want you to open your eyes and start questioning everything, especially everything that your brain tells you, those sentences in your mind, those thoughts. I want you to really look at your thoughts around what normal eating is and whether or not you want to be a normal eater. So the reason it's normal to overeat and be overweight is because we've normalized eating food that doesn't give us anything nutritionally. We eat cake to celebrate birthdays. We put sweet chemicals in coffee to make it taste less like coffee. We eat crisps with sandwiches because we like the salty crunch. We've totally forgotten the purpose for which we were designed to eat: to nourish our body, to give it the macro and micronutrients it needs, to enable our cells to function and carry out all of our bodily processes. We've totally forgotten what food and eating were designed for. And I just want you to be aware. Think about what you put in your shopping basket. Notice how few of the aisles in your supermarket have foods that would fall into the nourishing and nutritious category. Notice just how much of the food available for us to buy has no purpose other than to momentarily taste nice, and then it consequently leads us to be less healthy. Now, I'm not saying you should never eat food for pleasure. I'm just suggesting that you open your minds to the ways in which you've been programmed into what normal eating is, and see when it does and doesn't serve you. Notice when thoughts about normal eating help you get closer to your goal of having lost all your weight for the last time, and when they don't. I listen for those thought errors when I'm coaching clients. Ones that come up frequently are things like, I deserve a treat, when the treat is a piece of refined sugar, fat and flour in the form of a biscuit, a piece of cake or some chocolate. Of course, it really isn't a treat. It may taste good for literally a few seconds, but it's the opposite of a treat. Another one is, it just tastes so delicious. Do you know that you've conditioned your brain into believing that certain foods are delicious, whether in fact they actually are or are not? I challenge you to do a little experiment on this. Next time you find yourself wanting to eat half a pack of biscuits or a large piece of chocolate cake, explore how delicious every single mouthful really is. Once you start staying present and tasting what you are eating, you will see that oftentimes those foods that you think are going to be delicious really aren't. Another way in which normal eating comes up is around situations involving other people and what they may or may not be thinking about food and eating. Oftentimes, when we are at a social occasion where there's food, we don't decline food because we think we should eat it to be polite. My clients sometimes tell me they ate something they didn't want to because they didn't want to decline the offer, either because they didn't want to offend the host or because they didn't want to draw attention to themselves. There are a whole bundle of thought errors going on here. Thoughts like, it's rude to decline, I'll offend them, people will judge me. Now notice when I say thought errors, it's not necessarily that the thoughts they are having are incorrect. It's just that they are purely thoughts. They are neither right nor wrong. It's that the thoughts they are having are stopping them from creating the result or outcome that they want. And again, it may be normal because of how society has raised you to accept the cake offered so that you don't offend. But do you want to be normal? Would you, if you were a non-smoker, decline a cigarette if it was offered, or would you be worried about what the person offering would think of you? What's the difference when it's food being offered? There really isn't any. It's just that we sometimes think it's abnormal or impolite to decline food. So just notice, it's normal to drink alcohol, it's normal to eat sugar, and when it comes to food, it seems to be normal to not question eating and drinking to conform, even when eating and drinking, whatever it may be, doesn't serve us. Another thought error that comes up is, I don't want to feel deprived. We have thought lies, telling us that not eating these foods that are really bad for us means we are depriving ourselves. Does not having the cigarette make you feel deprived? No, of course not. So notice your thoughts about feeling deprived because you're not having certain foods or drinks, and remind yourself that accepting them would be depriving yourself of what you really truly want, a healthy, slim body. So have I shown you that the last thing you want is to eat like a normal person? What difference would it make to you if you stop thinking that you should be able to eat like a normal person? What do you want normal eating to look like for you? You get to decide. And that's the beauty of being human. We always get to decide. And so that's what I have for you today. Now, before I go, let me tell you about a couple of things that I'm doing that you may be interested in. If you're listening to this episode on the day of its release or just after, then I invite you to join me in a free 5-day live training that I'm running next week. That is the week commencing Monday, the 7th of September. To find out all the details about this and to register so that you get the free workbook and the opportunity to win some prizes, go to www.thebestyou.coach/5days. That's www.thebestyou.coach/5days. It's a numerical number 5 and then DAYS. Also, if you're interested in joining me in a 6-month small group weight loss intensive starting at the end of this month, that's at the end of September 2020, go to www.thebestyou.coach/mastermind to register your interest, and I will send you all the details. Thanks for listening today, and take care. If you enjoyed listening to this podcast and are ready to live a more intentional life, lose weight as a part of that journey, and create a relationship with food and yourself that you love, then I would be honoured to be your coach. There are 2 ways that you can work with me. You can join my monthly membership program, My One Life Academy, that gives you self-paced learning, supported by twice-weekly live calls and a whole lot more. Or you can join the waiting list for my next 6-month Lose Weight, Live Life Group Coaching Mastermind Intensive. Go to www.thebestyou.coach/coaching to find out all the details.